And now, Move the Sticks with Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks. DJ Buck with you. Buck, how are you doing, man?
DJ, I am so excited, and I'm excited because we have one of our favorite people on today, Jon Gordon, someone who you're really close to, someone who I follow all of his stuff, read his books, listen to his podcast. I can't wait to just listen to some of the nuggets that he's going to drop and impart on us as we kind of share his message to the masses.
Yeah, we've had Jon on before. If you're new, though, and haven't heard any of those conversations, you're going to enjoy this. Jon is he's an author, husband, father, author, best-selling books, and look, he talks to people all over the world, millions and millions of readers and audience around the world. He's the author of The Energy Bus. If you've read that, book's phenomenal. The Carpenter Training Camp, Power of Positive Leadership, Power of a Positive Team, The One Truth. He's written a bazillion books, and he's done it with all different folks along the way. He's been a mentor and a coach to guys like Sean McVay, Dabo Sweeney. He's done stuff with the Dodgers and Dave Roberts. Eric Spoelstra is with the Heat. Like, he has all these guys that he has poured into about, being a positive leader and being a transformative leader for their organizations. And it goes well beyond sports into the business realm as well. But Buck, anytime we get a chance to have him on, we jump at the chance.
Yeah, just jump at the chance. DJ, just so much experience, so many connections, so many lessons that he's given and he's learned. And to just be able to kind of listen to the encounters that he's had with so many great leaders, look, you can't help but be smarter and really be a better leader after taking the advice that he gives out and shares.
Hey, no doubt. So without further ado, here is our interview, our conversation with our buddy, Jon Gordon. Well, here he is, Buck. Excited to have Jon back with us. Jon, first of all, man, we appreciate you taking the time for us today. Where does life find you these days?
Great to be back with you guys. I am back in Jacksonville, Florida, Ponte Vedra Beach, where I live. Just was on the road in Dallas and then Louisiana, and now back home for a couple of days.
Well, I want to know, tell me about this event that you just had. You're constantly speaking all over the country. You're coaching coaches. You're coaching leaders in business. But I was intrigued by seeing the collection of folks that you had together, including Sean McVay and a whole host of others. Tell us a little bit about that event and what was accomplished.
It was really special. Years ago, I had a vision for an event called Training Camp, where I brought together business, leadership, sports, and an element of faith based on my book Training Camp. And it was a vision. And then I started inviting coaches this year to see if they wanted to join me. And Daniel, I couldn't believe it. Many of them, almost all of them said yes. I wasn't expecting them all to say yes, but we had an incredible lineup. Like Dabo Sweeney came. We had Sean McVay, Mac Brown, Trent Dilfer. We had Kevin O'Connell, Buzz Williams. It was a collection. Corey Close. People were blown away by Corey Close, the UCLA women's basketball coach. They thought, hey, this might be the smartest coach in the room, actually, is what people were saying. Even the male coaches were saying that, which is really cool. So it was just this great group of guys all sharing. And they also not just talked about like leadership and culture, but also their brokenness. They talked about their failures, their mistakes. Matt Rule talked about how he felt when he left Carolina. So the audience was blown away. Really, many people said it was one of the best events they've really ever been to because guys were being so raw and real. And it was only 150 business leaders in the audience and coaches all getting together and sharing. And I know the coaches actually loved being around each other and connecting with each other, which is a lot of fun. We had a VIP dinner the night before. Tim Tebow came by. We were all hanging out and sharing and talking. It was really special, really great.
Look, man, it's so inspirational to hear you talk about the connections and so many team leaders in the same building. How does it feel for you to know that you're the connective tissue between so many great leaders around the country and so many different things?
That was really special. I was brought to tears. Matthew West was our musical performer, and Matthew West is unbelievable. And he was playing music, and he kickstarted the day. And I literally teared up thinking, wow, like we've all come together for this. And to see the coaches love being around each other and connecting, that was really special. And to know that I had this relationship with each one of them over the years, pouring into them, investing in them, helping them in their teams over the years. And this was like the one event where they all came back to be a part of something I was doing. Now, I didn't do this all these years to think one day I'm going to have this training camp event and they were going to show up. That's what people said they took away from it, in terms of like, you build these relationships all these years, and then these guys came back for this event to be a part of it. And I don't think it could have happened, any other way, but just having all these relationships and them wanting to be a part of it with me and then each other. So yeah, it was honestly one of the best feelings I've ever had in my life. And I realized in that moment, like, wow, what great people that I've gotten to know. These coaches, as you know, are the best people. Like, they're incredible human beings, great integrity. And then to know that we're able to now make this impact together. Jim Rome, the broadcaster.
Yeah, Jim's great.
Jim was like, there's something going on here. I don't know what it is. He goes, I've never been in a room like this ever in my life. I'm feeling something I can't explain. And it's the best room I've ever been in all these years, Jim said. And I got up there and I said, hey, Jim, I got to be honest with you. That's the Holy Spirit. and the audience laughed, and Jim goes, I think it is. It was such a cool moment.
I love that. Well, there's a whole host of different things I want to get into with you. And I've been, looking forward to having you on. And one of the first ones is it's somewhat connected to what you're just talking about, getting these people together and people always looking to learn and grow. But I've never asked you this question before. Two things. Are all the great coaches coachable? And is it something that you've noticed over the years when you've interacted with these guys, that those guys are at the top of the profession? You mentioned some of those guys there, Super Bowl champions, national champions. But we always talk about players being coachable. How important is it that a coach is coachable?
Daniel, check this out. This is unbelievable. I didn't even mention Billy Donovan was there. Billy Donovan reached out to me literally a couple of days before and said, hey, John, you asked me to come to your event. Guess what? I can now make it if you still want me. Billy, you just got nominated, inducted into the Hall of Fame. Yeah, I'll make time for you. We'll make time. Billy says this: I want to learn from the other guys in the room. I can't wait to come learn from them. And he sat in the back after he spoke and took notes and was writing down what they were saying. Dabo Sweeney, after his talk, was signing some footballs, and he said, hey, guys, can I do this later? I want to go hear what Sean has to say. And he raced back into the room to listen to Sean. This wasn't like where after I'm done speaking, I'm going into the green room. These guys wanted to hear from each other and learn from each other. And that's a characteristic. Over the years and working with them, they're always looking for the edge. They're always looking for something that they're missing. Eric Spoelstra would always reach out to me and say, hey, John, what am I missing? What's new? What are you hearing these days? They're always looking for that new idea, that new thing that could take their team to the next level. And that's what I love about them. Like, you go to high school, and a lot of high school coaches, they think they know it all. Like, yeah, no, I don't need to hear that. I don't need to learn that.
I mean, that's Bucky. That's Bucky's a high school football coach. I mean, just no curiosity.
Yeah, no curiosity. I don't need to attend that clinic. I've seen it all. I've heard it all. These guys are like literally learning and growing and always looking for that little thing. That's why Bill Belichick would always go to the college clinics to see what they were saying and talking about. The best are always striving to get better.
It's funny, John, because what you're saying, you're talking about guys being lifelong learners. But what I'm hearing as a coach is I'm hearing the humility that's needed to be an elite coach, that the elite coaches are humble enough to know that they don't know it all, and they're seeking answers for the things that are unknown from other people who've had similar success.
Yeah, that's a great point. They're humble enough. They got the humility, and they're humble enough to know, hey, I'm never done growing. The door of greatness, if I think I've arrived, guess what? It's going to get slammed in my face. So I have to continue to get better, improve, and grow. And you know what? I'm the same way. I'm learning from everyone I can meet. I'm always learning from people. When I see speakers, especially these young speakers out there today, I'm learning from them. You can always learn and grow.
John, is an identity of a team, and we talk about culture with you all the time, but the identity of a team, how much of that is connected to simply the best player on the team and what their identity and outlook can be? I know we talk about the coach being at the top of the tree here, but I was talking to a baseball general manager the other day, and he brought up a great point. He was saying that he was talking with somebody else in the professional sports world, and it brought up this question of, when you bring someone new into your building, what's the key for them being successful? And he said, they have their star player, their leader. And he said, we need that. Whoever we bring in has to be able to work with that star player, that leader. They have to be able to connect. And I'd never really thought of it that way. You think about the collective, but the emphasis on who that key person is, how important is that?
I'm thinking of the research on gritty teams that
Mhm.
if you have a couple of gritty guys on that team will be more gritty. You don't need every teammate to be a gritty person. You need these core guys, these leaders, these transformational leaders. And I've never thought of it that way before, Daniel. You're right. I mean, that one person, if they're a transformational leader, will impact a lot of people around them. Now, they're not the only key. They're
Yeah.
not just the only one that needs to be like that. You need a couple of guys. You need glue guys. You need guys who buy in. But yes, a transformational leader is key. And we've seen that one quarterback who really impacts a franchise through their belief. And I think it comes down to identity and belief and the transfer of that belief. You got the identity. Who are we? And who do we believe we are? And what do we believe we can accomplish? So the identity is really key. And that comes down to the belief about yourself and about each other. And we know, again, looking at the NFL, there are teams when you get a star quarterback and a great coach, you change the identity of that team. And a great guy on defense, obviously, is a huge key component, a really transformational figure. Would the Ravens been the same without Ray Lewis? I don't think so. You need that guy who just walks different, acts different, and has that presence about them, radiates to everyone on the team and impacts them. You have a special team when you have that. But you also have to have relational equity. You have to have connection. You have to have commitment amongst each other. That guy has to be likable also, someone they want to follow, someone who brings the team together. So there are a lot of factors, but identity and belief are key.
You know, John, this piggybacks off Daniel's question. As a coach, sometimes I wonder, because when I hear the great teams talk, they talk about 100% buy-in. Everyone is bought in. But then when I stand in front of my team, maybe 80 to 85% are bought in. And then you have these other guys. When you talk to these guys and they're really open and honest, are they able to get 100% buy-in? Or do they know that they're going to have some guys along the way that don't fully connect or buy into everything that we're selling when we're standing in front of the room?
I don't think you'll always have 100% buy-in, but you're trying to get as many people to buy in as possible. And if you can get to 90%, 95%, you're doing pretty good. If you start to have 20% not buying in, that's where you got some problems. And it's also who's not buying in, and are the people not buying in being energy vampires, and are they noisy? Are they gossiping? Are they bringing the team down? One person can't make a team, but one person could break a team. So that one person who's not buying in could really impact the team if they're an energy vampire. So I think it depends on who's not buying in. There are some people that are just not buying in, but they got a contract, but they're quietly not buying in. And you got to basically say, I know that person's here. One more year. Let's get through it. I would love it if you could get rid of that guy and find a way to get that person to move on, because the more people you have buying in, if you have 100% buy-in, you're going to be that much more powerful. Everyone pulling in the same direction, pulling on that rope is key. But yeah, I think we know that not everyone is always going to buy in, but figuring out what to do with them. Do I isolate them? Do I allow them to be part of these meetings? Do I give them a leadership role? What do I do with that person is really key.
If I was going to ask you, we're in a draft room and we're discussing players and we're going over guys we're going to bring into our building. If I told you, John, we're going to give you one non-negotiable on a player to come into our building, what would Jon Gordon's one non-negotiable? We are not. There's no discussion. If it's this, we're out.
Wow, has to be. See, I have too many, but definitely integrity. Has to be integrity. I mean, what you say and what you do are in alignment. The word integrity comes from the word integer, which means whole and complete. So there's no gap in your character. You are whole and you are complete. And a leader with integrity is a powerful leader. So I would say I want someone with integrity who walks the walk, talks the talk. There's no gaps in their character. And you know they're going to be steady and consistent. I've been thinking a lot about this in terms of consistency. If you think about Nick Saban, why was he so successful? He was so consistent. His coaches say that he was eating the same candy bar every day at the same time. He's that consistent. So even though the players may not have liked him, they knew what to expect from him because he was so consistent. And as a leader, when you are consistent and they could expect the same thing from you, you build that trust and that relationship. Now, I would also add, I want that leader to be very optimistic and have a ton of belief. And I want that leader to be someone who is bringing the team along with them and embracing the team. Jaden Daniels is like, I spoke to the Commanders before their playoff run. I got invited at the last minute to go down there and speak. And they were coming up to Tampa. And I'm like, can I just drive to Tampa and meet you guys from Jacksonville? Like, no, 10 a.m. Saturday morning. That's the time. You know how that works.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, all right, I'll do it. So I flew there, and man, this team was special. Like, I could feel the difference in this room from the group of veterans. Zach Ertz was in the room, right? You had Marcus Mariota in the room. You had a group of guys.
Bobby Wagner there.
How can I forget about? Of course, Bob.
Yeah.
Every guy that I've met throughout my year speaking, I met Zach in Philadelphia. I met Bobby in Seattle. All the guys that I met who were my favorite players on the various teams I spoke to over the years were now in this one room as a group of guys. And then you have this young transformational quarterback. It's no accident they had the success they had.
You know, and speaking of that, because one of the things that I love to come to you, whether it's your podcast or reading your books, just the positivity. Can you speak on why it's so important for people or teams that want to do great things to really create a positive environment so that everyone can be at the best?
Because there's so much negativity, and negativity will bring you down. Being positive won't guarantee you'll succeed, but being negative will guarantee that you won't. Negativity causes division. Pessimism causes us to give up. Discouragement sets in and we stop moving forward. But optimism and belief and positivity is how we overcome adversity and setbacks and challenges. So every team's going to get tested, and it's how we respond to the test. And it's interesting, Buggy. There are two main frequencies I figured out. I wrote about this in The One Truth. If you really look at life and you look at the universe and the world, everything comes down to two main frequencies, positive and negative. And that's why everything in this world is positive or negative, good and bad, right? There's the Star Wars, there's Harry Potter, Black Panther, there's good versus bad, good versus evil, positive and negative. So in life, the negative brings you down and the positive lifts you up. And it's a battle between negative and positive. Can we as a team overcome the negativity, the adversity, the division, and the discouragement that sets in and the distractions along the way? 5 Ds that everyone should be aware of, by the way: doubt, distortion, which are lies, negative thoughts, and also gossip. We've got discouragement, distraction, and division. And when that sets in, the team falls apart. So what's the key? Positivity unites, it uplifts, it encourages, and allows you to overcome those 5 Ds to move forward.
That's awesome. Taking a bunch of notes here as we go along. I want to ask you about something I just read this morning. I was glad you were coming on, because this is a time of year. You got OTAs, so you got teams trying to get together. You've got everybody coming together with the draft picks, the free agents, the existing veterans, trying to make this whole thing form and work together. And I saw Kellen Moore of the Saints. He just canceled their practice today, I believe it was today, and said, no, we're going to go do a team bonding. We're going to go do a team bonding event. And it was overwhelmingly, from the reaction that I saw from the player standpoint, was overwhelmingly well received. I guess they said they had played paintball at one of the previous mini camps that they had. But just from your perspective, obviously you want to try and get the team ready. Let's learn the playbook. Let's get acclimated with one another. But when you see a coach like this, year one in a situation, make a choice like this, A, what informs that decision? And B, what are the benefits?
Well, I'm hoping it's because I sent him the 7 Commitments of a Great Team, my new book that just came out. And I did send it to him. And a big part of this, there's a part of the book that says one more day of practice is not going to make you a better team, but one more day of bonding as a team will make you a stronger team. So I'm not going to take credit. I don't know if he read it yet or not. I know a lot of coaches are there. I'm getting the feedback from it, and it's awesome. And a lot of coaches are saying, yes, this is it. This is a book about commitments and about bringing a team together and the importance of bonding. And there's a bunch of exercises in the book that actually allows the team to become more united and connected. So I wrote this book to actually get people to do this very thing. So it is everything. If I'm a team, I'm a GM, I'm a coach, I am doing everything I can to create a collective connection amongst this team, because the more connected you are, the more committed you will be. If you lack connection, you will move towards division. And we know that that separate team, that divided team, becomes a very weak team. So the more connected you are, the stronger you will be. Now, you have to have talent, of course. Mm-hmm. You can be very connected with no talent, and you're going to love each other, but you're not going to win a lot of games. But if you got the talent and then you have the connection, then that rises you to a whole other level. So there are a series of team building exercises I actually do with teams now that are key. Like one is the 5 H's, which is in this book. It's who's your hero, a hardship you faced that made you who you are today. What's a highlight that you're proud of? What's hilarious? Share something funny. And what do you hope for? And each guy goes around and shares that. And I've had teams do this. And I tell you, like Clemson did it the year they won the national championship. When you do these kind of exercises, there's a bond that develops that you don't get otherwise.
You know, it's funny because DJ and I have talked about the 3 H's, what we call it, like hero, highlight, hardship. We've done it. I've done that with my high school team. And I can tell you, John, the emotions that come out of that, kids share things that you never know that's existing in their personal lives. And it does bring the team together. And one of the things that can bring teams together, adversity. A couple of the guys that you always talk about, you talked about Eric Spoelstra, Sean McVay, they have a knack for when their teams are having tough moments, they're able to pull them out and get them back on track. And being around those type people, what is the key to being able to pull your team out of a tough situation and circumstance?
One, I think it's being consistent still. Like you stay consistent to the principles. You know, this is what guides us, and we're not wavering. You can't change midstream or midseason. A lot of times coaches do that. They change their style. They change how they're acting towards the players, and they wind up losing the locker room. You have to stay consistent. You have to address the reality of the situation. Hey, this is the challenge we're facing. This is where we are. But you also have to provide a path forward and why you're going to get there. You also have to have the relationship and connection individually and collectively. So Sean is so great at talking to his players and having that one-on-one relationship as well as that collective connection, which is key. So Eric Spoelstra going through a tough time. He's still talking about the vision, still talking about the principles, still talking about what's going to make them successful, and not wavering, and also not getting negative, not getting pessimistic, but staying positive. And then that encouragement that is so key. Resilience is about bouncing back, but resilience is not about one person. We often think of the Lone Ranger when we think of resilience. It's actually collective relationship and connection that leads to resilience. So, Bucky, if you have someone who supports you and encourages you and loves you and you know they got your back, that's going to make you more resilient. Well, when you know your coach has your back, even though you're losing and you're not playing well, and that coach still loves you, believes in you, and is here for you, that provides an avenue for growth and hopefully a comeback.
John, last one from me, man, and we always appreciate your time. But you talk about some of these college coaches you have relationships with, Dabo being one of them. I think about the challenges they face now greater than they've ever had at the collegiate level with a wide open transfer portal and the transitive nature of college sports right now. Two-parter here. I feel like all I do is ask you two-part questions, but two-parter here. How challenging is it, and what would be a key to retention, to keeping players in the fold? And then to me, when you look at that, is that going to be kind of like a secret weapon? If you can have guys, we've seen it in the NCAA tournament with basketball. You see the veteran teams, maybe not as talented as some of these teams that have these McDonald's All-Americans and some young kids. And you see these 4-year guys that have been together. They've just played together. They're just a better team. Is that going to be a secret weapon moving forward?
It is. Culture drives talent towards greatness. And the coaches that build the relationships, that create a structure, a foundation that these guys can rely on. Dabo has said it before. Players are going to get paid, but they have to be there and they have to earn it. And once you earn it, you're going to make money while you're there. That goes to the same model in the NFL. Like, remember when guys were paid these huge rookie contracts and the veterans would be upset in the locker room? And now everyone knows what the rookie contract pretty much is going to be. And that issue is no longer there. It's the same way at Clemson. Like, everyone knows you come here, you stay, you get paid, and you make X, Y, and Z. But Dabo says, I'm not going to pay some young freshman coming in this huge amounts of money to get them to come here. If they want to come, great. And if they do, they're going to earn it. So he's built a culture of relationship, built a culture of connection, and built a culture where you have to earn what you get. And I think that's great. And I believe those cultures, those leaders who build those kind of relationships, the players are there for the right reasons. There's always going to be someone offering more money. And that's where we have to look at, where does this end? Like, how much could it actually rise? How much could it go up? How much could this whole universe support in terms of how many players can make X, Y, and Z? So I really believe the competitive advantage is going to be everything we're talking about: culture, It's the leadership, it's the teamwork, it's belief, it's being a part of something greater. And Dabo now knows, he said he used to lose guys all the time, that they tried to get. Now he knows who his guy is or who they aren't. Like, he knows who his guy is because the guy that they're losing is already getting paid somewhere else. He goes, they were getting paid in the past. They weren't coming to Clemson. We just didn't know it. Now we know who's getting paid, and that's not our guy. We know who is our guy, and that's who they go after. So I think now more than ever, the ability to build those relationships and to create a culture where people want to stay and build a family where guys are going to grow and learn and develop and get better, that's going to be more important than ever. And I think the right people want to be a part of that. The ones who go to the highest bidder, you're going to lose them, but maybe they're not your right guy anyway.
Jon, I'm going to share this with you. I don't even know if I told DJ this story. So last question for you is a personal story. So my son is a walk-on. He plays baseball at San Jose State. But before his freshman year, when he was trying to make it, I stumbled across your book, Coffee Bean. And I stuck it in his backpack. And I said, hey, man, I think you may need to read this along the way as you're going through your journey. A couple years later, I'm cleaning out his room, and there is the book, Coffee Bean, with smudges and all these things on it, where he read it. So I want to thank you because that was really impactful for him as he was trying to do something that was very difficult for him. But I want to ask you, where do you get your inspiration for your stories? Because it's fascinating to me that you're able to put out a book, a collection of books that inspire so many. Where do you find your inspiration to come up with these great stories?
Well, this newest one, The 7 Commitments, I wrote in 16 days. And it was a book that just came to me. So I can't take the credit because, trust me, I'm not that smart. And my teammates from college can't believe what I'm doing now. They're like, you were a mental wreck in college and this is what you're doing? And I can't believe what I'm doing now. So I have to give all credit to God. I'm a spiritual guy. God literally gives me these ideas. I walk, I pray on a daily basis. And literally, not all the time, but when it's the right time, the idea for a book will come to me. And I get the vision, the storyline, and sort of how I'm going to put it together. Now I have to sit down and write it, but I get a vision for what it's supposed to be. That happened with Energy Bus, Training Camp, even You Win in the Locker Room First that I wrote with Mike Smith, which is a really great book for coaches. That book, I wasn't sure we were supposed to do a book until I walked and I had the vision of what it was supposed to be and the framework for it. So got to give all credit. And to know that you read the books, and you read them, Daniel, and that your son reads them, that's what means. That means everything. I was on the plane yesterday, and who's sitting next to me on the plane right across the aisle was Ed Reed.
Oh, nice.
Couldn't believe it. I'm like, and I go, are you Ed Reed? He's like, yeah. He's like, I said, hi, I'm Jon Gordon. He goes, oh, John. He goes, I know who you are. I go, how do you know who I am? He goes, I read your books. I was like, are you kidding me? Ed Reed's read my books. It blew me away. Just blew me away.
That is fantastic. It doesn't surprise me about Ed too. Having been with him for 4 years in Baltimore, Ed, one of the smartest football players that I've ever been around. So the fact that he went to doing some coaching and wanting to learn and grow, having that growth mindset doesn't surprise me in the least. Jon, it has been great to catch up, man. I know you are bouncing all over the globe here and sharing your message, and we're very grateful to have you as a friend, and we're very grateful for your time today. We appreciate you, buddy.
I appreciate you guys. And I just want to say, I forgot to say, Eddie George came to training camp as well. And Eddie George, to see what he's doing now in the coaching world is so cool too, because I've got a chance to work with Eddie. And the best thing is what you guys do, and also seeing how coaches lead and impact. Man, that's what it's all about. So thanks for all that you do, guys. Appreciate you.
You're the best, brother. Thank you, man. All right, Buck. Man, look, he's always kind and generous with his time. We ask him to come on. He always comes on. It's usually kind of a thing we're always looking to do this time of year. We get a chance to kind of cherry pick some of our favorites to come on. But again, lots of notes taken there from our buddy Jon.
DJ, I'm always blown away when he comes on and shares from the lessons that he's learned, the people that are involved in his training camp, the projects that he's doing, and how quickly he's able to write these books. He's just a unique person. And I think what's inspirational about him is just his ability to deal with his own adversity and becoming a world-renowned author and those things. It's just a terrific conversation. I think everyone who had an opportunity to listen in will walk away not only with a bunch of notes, but with some lessons that can kind of guide them going forward as they lead in their own respective communities.
I got to ask you, as a high school coach, we talked a little bit about team bonding. What does Coach Bucky Brooks do to try and bond the team together? What's maybe the favorite thing you've done in your time as a coach?
So we shared the story about the 3 H's. I've done that with the team. But DJ, certain simple things like having a designated donut day every 2 or 3 weeks where you bring donuts in for the kids. Last week was National Donut Day on Friday. And so DJ, just, donuts are expensive these days.
I know.
I didn't know to 100 kids, that's a lot of donuts. They're in my pocket. My little coaching stipend is all gone with the donut stuff. But I think what Jon said when he talked about like Kellen Moore talking about, hey, one day of practice won't guarantee that you'll be better, but one day of bonding can ensure that you play at a high level. I think that's something that as coaches, we all get caught up in the next practice, the next drill, the next competition, as opposed to it's a relationship business. And if you get everyone to really buy in and to be connected, you're going to have a lot of success. I think listening to Jon and heeding some of those exercises that he's talked about, I think that has really kind of helped me along the way.
I think back, if you asked me to recall memories from high school football practice, right? So I graduated high school in 96. So obviously it's been quite a long time ago. But Buck, I can maybe tell you one or two instances where maybe there was a big hit that I kind of remember from a tackling drill, maybe something funny that someone said to a coach. But I mean, very, very vague memories. I can tell you for a fact, I remember, one year where we were in kind of those grinding two-a-days, which I don't know that you can really do it the way we had to do it when we were growing up. And then you kind of show up for that afternoon practice. We're supposed to be in full pads. We've been doing this for a couple of weeks, and we got there and everybody got all their pads on. We got out to practice, went through the full warm up, and our head coach came up and said, "All right, boys, take your pads off. We're going in the pool." And we the pool was right there. He had the high dive, all that kind of stuff. So we went over there, and I mean, we sprinted to go jump into that pool. But I mean, that was a memory that I remember. I don't remember 7-on-7 or, doing the Oklahoma drill, all those things. I don't have any memories. I do remember that day though, about how excited we were to get out of that heat and jump in the pool.
Well, look, man, I think that's the right perspective. I think understanding who you have and what they need at that moment is a special skill. And you talk about those memories and the connectivity. I was at a coaches meeting, CAF LA City section. We had our coaches meeting in the Rams locker room. And one of the leaders talked about one of the job of high school coaches is to make sure that everyone on that team walks away with a friend, and a friend that could be their friend for the next 30, 40 years. Talking about how high school sports is really about that. So when you talk about those memories, those shared experiences, that's really what it's about. Like, that's what they're going to remember far more than the X's and O's. They're going to remember those unique moments, the tough workouts together, all the other stuff where you become a closer team. Those are the things that matter. Those are the things that will kind of carry on with them as they go on to the next level of their life.
Yeah, I have, high school sports to me, I won't go off on a tangent here, but I've talked in the past about what I would look for like in a youth sports coach. Like, to me, it's very simple. If you're coaching kids, if you're listening to this and you're coaching kids, just put the right perspective in this. At the end of the season, I've always felt if you're coaching, let's say 13 and under, 12 and under, if at the end of the year, your players are better at the end of the year individually than they were at the beginning of the year, if your team has gotten a little bit better than they were at the beginning of the year, if you've had fun, the kids have had a good time. And the last one is they all want to play the next year. If you've done that, you've hit that checklist. Who cares how many games you win? What your batting average is, what the stats say. Like, if you accomplish those four things as a youth coach, I think you've done a great job. And when I think of high school, Buck, this is a very simple one. Man, I would judge your success as a high school coach. And I would say this to any high school coach. I know you as a high school coach, Buck, but I've always looked at it, man, I would judge my success by how many weddings I get invited to down the line, and how many players hold on to my phone number after they leave campus. That to me would be my view of success of a high school coach.
DJ, I can tell you, man, sometimes we're in this weird space in high school sports where you almost have to make a tough decision. In football, you have to make a decision. Do you want to be a football factory, or are you really trying to give the great high school experience? You obviously understand we're in Southern California. There are some football powerhouses here. And look, it's not all kids from the neighborhood. And that's great for them. But then others are neighborhood schools that are trying to make do with what they have. And I would say that, coming off a tough season, the thing that I am most excited about heading into this year, I looked at my coaching staff and there are 5 former players
Wow.
that are coaching with me.
That's great.
I'm talking about guys that have graduated within the last 3 or 4 years. And so when you think about all the things and you hear the noise, good and bad, when you talk about former players wanting to come back because their experience was so good within the program that they want to kind of pay it forward, to me, that tells you that you're on the right track. And as long as you're on the right track there, the wins will eventually come. But it's about really having those relationships and those bonds that really sustain you if you're a coach that's trying to do it because, hey, man, you just kind of want to leave your mark on the world and kind of make the place a little better for the people that you're encountering.
Yeah, and you're not trying to feed your own ego too, which is gosh, I think we see that way too much in coaching, man. That's why I appreciate everything that you do, Buck, in the high school space, because you're just pouring into kids. Hey, whoever shows up, we're going to coach them. We're going to love them up. We're going to get better, and we're going to have an enjoyable experience. And along the way, you've had a lot of success in doing it that way and totally rebuilding a high school program. But you're not out there chasing kids so that you can go in there so you can, beat your chest about how you've got 10 Division I kids and this, that, and the other that anybody can coach. Like, come on, man. Like, stop feeding your own ego. You see this high school coaches all the time. Drives me insane.
Yeah, but it is. But I mean, look, that's the way of the world. I mean, we're just in a weird space. I mean, sports have changed so much over the last 30 years in terms of those things. Like, we went from our football teams being coached by the baseball coach, the basketball coach. Everyone had a part in being an assistant. And then they would go and lead their respective sports, and the football coach would be an assistant.
So it was when I was growing up.
So now everything is specialization and people doing their own thing, and that is great. And the game has never been better in some regards, but we just want to make sure that, look, man, every player is not going to have an opportunity to play beyond high school. Let's make sure that we give everybody a great experience so they can look back and really say that, hey, man, I have fond memories from my 4 years at that high school, having an opportunity to participate in extracurricular activities.
I always wonder about the guys who go to like 3-4 high schools, man. Like, who do you hang out with? Like, who do you keep in touch with when you get done?
Look, it's almost like that at the collegiate level with the portal, everyone bouncing around. Which reunions do you go to? You go to all of them?
Yeah, that's a great question.
How do you fit in?
Yeah, don't get me started. All right. This has been a fun one today. Again, thanks to our buddy Jon Gordon for coming on. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. We try and have some different conversations this time of the year. We'll have time for lists. Don't worry about it. If you're craving lists, we'll give you some lists at some point in time. But we're going to be selfish and have some conversations we want to have on the show here. So appreciate you guys. We'll see you next time right here on Move the Sticks.